with the power of our voices and the power of music. However many of us are gathered here right now, the presence of our people, of our love, of our communities is way bigger than could fit at the intersection of 34th Street and 6th Avenue.
That's right.
I'm looking out and I know that people are bringing their communities and their families from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, from Queens. I know from Uptown. I know from Staten Island. I know people are bringing loved ones from Iraq. I know people are bringing loved ones from Afghanistan, from all parts of this world. We do not come here alone. And so that's why we're going to ask you, first we're going to try saying this, and then we're going to sing it together. So let me hear the people say, we have not come here alone.
We have not come here alone.
We carry our people in our bones.
We carry our people in our bones.
We have not come here alone.
We have not come here alone.
If you listen, you can hear them in our soul.
If you listen, you can hear them in our souls.
You know, this year is an election year, and that can actually be a very dangerous time because we can become confused. Donald Trump says that he will kill terrorists and kill their families, and everyone here thinks that's a terrible thing. But we also have to point out that President Obama already did that. He performed an extrajudicial execution of Anwar al-Awlaki and his teenage son in 2011. So even as we speak out against people like Trump, we have to remember that is the lowest hanging fruit of bigotry and racism and imperialism. But we cannot let off the hook the people who are in power already.
Today, we are here to stand with everyone in Chicago on Friday who shut Trump down. Because that's a kind of people's movement we need all over the country that says no to racism, no to Islamophobia, no to the wars, no to the attacks on immigrants, that says yes for people's struggle and resistance and does it in the streets and in the arenas. That's a kind of people's movement that is needed all across the country, and that's a kind of people's movement that makes real change. We're here to stand with the people of Syria who are resisting a U.S. war and takeover, and people of Yemen who are under U.S.-Saudi bombs. We're also here with the people of Flint who are facing a poisoning of their water, and it's the same for people in Newark. All across the country, the wars come home in real destruction right here. In both racism, in attacks on immigrants, but also in the destruction of our schools, the water, the infrastructure. All of that is part of the war on the world and a war on the poor and working people right here. None of these issues are being addressed by any of the major candidates. So when we talk about resistance, we want to connect with the Black Lives Matter movement, who has again and again been in the streets shutting it down against mass incarceration, against police murders. That resistance has put everyone on notice, and it's put NYPD on notice.
I was listening to your comment on the mic. What do you think the next step will be?
Well, what we're trying to do is to address the fact that none of the candidates, major candidates for U.S. office, are addressing the wars that the U.S. is engaged in around the world, especially the war on Syria, the absolute destruction, acting through Saudi Arabia, through Turkey bombing. So we want to bring a message of no to the wars. The wars come home here in the poisoned water, the destroyed infrastructure right here in the U.S. because so much money is spent for war. It comes home also in militarized police, in mass incarceration, jails and prisons in the U.S. And we're combining these issues together.
Thank you. You've been monitoring the situation in Syria, and this is 5 years. We have seen changes happening lately. What do you think about that?
Well, I still think it's totally up to the Syrian people to decide their future. And I think that the solidarity that has come from Russia, from Iran, from Hezbollah in Lebanon, that's important, because everyone in the world knows that if Syria were to fall, this would be an expansion of even more U.S. wars. So Syria's resistance is important for the whole world. And we really hope that they can continue this resistance. It seems that there has been a real turnaround. And there's been a turnaround because the people of Syria stood up.
What you would like to say to the president in Syria and also to the army?
To stand strong, the people of the world are with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Joe, can you imagine an election campaign for the President of the United States without talking about the fact that we have over 880 foreign bases in the world? Can you imagine an election campaign where none of the candidates will speak to the fact that 57% of our national budget goes for killing machines? Can you imagine a national election for the President of the United States not to talk about the fact that U.S. troops are in every country surrounding Russia? Can you imagine a national election for the President of our country not talking about the fact that we are training 37 African countries with our soldiers? Can you imagine such a situation? This is the reality of what we are facing. And it is the responsibility of the peace movement of our country to raise the cry, talk about the war and the military budget. It is impossible to create jobs, single-payer health, a public works program without saying where the money is coming from. And the money must come from the reduction of the military budget. 57% of our money goes for killing machine and creating the culture of one advance after another. President Obama was given the Nobel Prize at a very early stage of his administration. And yet that policy continues, the same policy of Bush and his predecessors. Only 2 weeks ago, he declared he's going to send troops to Nigeria. In addition to all the troops that we are sending. These are our sons and daughters. These are our sons and daughters. The peace movement of our country has a deep responsibility to the American people. We can't be fooled by the propaganda on Syria. The destiny of Syria belongs to the Syrian people. They will decide who their leaders will be. Not Look at the mess, look at the tragic mess we made in Libya. A sovereign nation which we destroyed. Even Obama says it was a mistake. When you're killing people, how do you get away with an apology? You and I are facing a tremendous responsibility. We have to raise the demand that the elections are discussed, and the military budgets and the war as part of that discussion. Thank you very much for doing what you're doing.
Of us here, this is not a year to be confused. This is a year to pay attention. This is a year to be in favor of and against the things we're always concerned about. We're always against war, and we cannot forget that, because every 4 years we're told to be distracted by people who are going to bring us more of the same. So I will end by saying, as I started, power to the people. Thank you.
We have not come here alone. We carry our people in our bones. We have not come here alone. If you listen, you can hear them in our soul. Sing that with us. We have not come here alone. We carry our people. We carry our people in our bones. We have not. We have not come here alone. If you listen, we carry our people in our bones. Say that loud. Come on. We have not